You've all seen how I've been 3D printing inserts for tools in these pack-out organizers, and this is the final part of the puzzle. It's making a cart to hold them all. And I started out, this is that European popular multiply plywood that I got last summer. It's supposed to be a replacement for Baltic birch. Baltic birch is no longer available where I live, so this is what I'm using. And it's really a nice plywood, a little bit softer face though than the Baltic birch, but it does stay nice and flat, and it cuts pretty nice. And it is a strong multiply plywood. So first thing I did is I ripped up the sheets with the track saw to shorten them down and be able to fit them down in my shop. And here I'm just kind of rough sizing all the parts, starting to get them close to the sizes that I require. And I don't know if you remember that Libre video I did. I showed that I had started designing this cart a while ago, and I'm finally getting around to making it now. This is one of the first projects I've actually drawn up plans for and using them to make it, so we'll see how it turns out. But basically it's just a matter of breaking everything down and having that nice long extrusion on that Kreg extrusion on that Incra jig makes it usable for both sides of the blade. You can see a lot safer with that plastic shield there and usable. So this is kind of all I use it for, is breaking down stuff in accurate cuts now. I don't move it to any angles anymore. So it kind of was a waste, but it does work good for this. And you can see having the stop go past the blade allows me to cut shorter pieces safely and push them right through. And that stop is much easier to use. Just works perfect. So here I'm cutting some dividers to go up between the shelves, and like I said, at this point everything's just about an 1/8 inch oversized until I do the final trimming down. And there they are, all the parts cut. A couple minutes later, everything roughed out, and there's the drawings I made originally of everything to go by, and I'm going to try going by that 100% this time. So now I'm getting ready to start doing the final sizing and squaring, make sure everything's perfectly square. In order for this to work, all the dados and everything have to be perfectly square, otherwise nothing will fit together, right? So kind of laying out everything by hand according to the drawing, and that T-square really is handy now that I've got it squared up. Oh yeah, these bench clamps, I took them down to my shop and I put some knurling on the bottom there where it goes through the table, and boy, they grab nice now. They're really nice once you do that. So that's an easy way to fix them if you're having a problem with them slipping out. There you can see they just work perfect now. Really sharp looking. So over to the table saw. Now they've got stuff sized up, and I'm going to switch over to the dado. And this blade here I think is a Prestige 40 tooth blade. Is one of the best blades ever made if you just want to buy one blade and use it all the time. That's all that's on my saw. I use it for everything and I love it. Get out the dado set. That Infinity dado set, I don't know, I've had this maybe 6-7 years now. Still sharp, still does a wonderful job. Nice flat bottom dados, and it came with a set of shims when you're dealing with plywood like this. But this plywood is actually about 12 millimeters, or about 0.47 thick. And if you stack up 4 of the 1/8 inch blades, you get a 1/2 inch. But I use 3 1/8 inch blades and 1 3/32. And then I'm just going to measure the difference between the slot that I got and the thickness of this wood. And then I'm going to put in the shims, pick the right shims to match. And I like to break it down to 2 thinner shims and put them in 2 different locations. So slide one on there, and then I'll just put the next one in on the other side of the blade there. And that should give me exactly what I want. So let's do the test cut. And flip it over and try it apart, and you'll see that it's an actual perfect fit. So that's a good thing about having a shim set like that when you have a good dado head. Gives you perfect fits every time. So time to go back and cut the dados. Use 2 push blocks to push down on this, because plywood sometimes has a tendency to bow up when you relieve the stress on one side with a dado. So I like to just keep everything flat, because if these things aren't flat, nothing's going to fit together right. So we'll cut one, we'll keep the same side up against the fence and cut the other. And like I said before, everything has to be perfectly square for this to work. And then I'll just go through and do the other 6 of them. And again, I'm putting pressure down on each one to make sure I get a perfect, the depth of cut is even all the way across. And there you can see those parts are made. Perfect fitting dado. Ready to start on the sides that I had cut the sides, and this is where everything started going wrong. I didn't even know about it till later. So I started, marking everything out, lining it up and cutting it. And then I said, okay, let me just grab a box and see how it's going to fit. Back when I started to design on this, I just took a ruler and measured the box height off the table. And actually, it's just about line to line or a little bit under there. You can see it doesn't fit. So that cost me 2 pieces of plywood, and I had to change the space and go back and set everything up again, cut new panels, and then do the dado. So I did lose some time and plywood over that, but you learn from your mistakes. And I was just in too much of a hurry trying to learn a Libre, I think. Anyhow, finally I got everything set up and made. And I did not cut the final spacers, vertical spacers yet, but everything else, fit perfect. And I figured each one was going to be a little different because I hand measured each one of those slot locations. So now I'm going to go back and take and do the final sizing of all these little vertical uprights and do the final cutting a length there to fit perfectly in each slot. So I know it'll go together square and everything. And then I'm going to mark it all, because if they're not glued together in the same way, there could be problems. So there it is. Everything fits. Looks good. Ready for glue up. You can see that plywood is nice, flat, and really kind of nice. It's a little bit softer, but it does do a good job compared to Baltic birch. So first I'm going to go over to my sanding station here and give everything a good sanding. Doesn't need a lot. Nice finish on this, but still it's nice to clean it up. And then try to figure out how to start the glue up. I decided to assemble one upright to each of the shelves here. To get started is going to be my easiest way, I figured. I guess I could have tried to glue it all at once, but I was just afraid to try that. So I'm just going to get everything all squared up here and, ready to go. Make sure everything's perfect. Otherwise, I'll have trouble later. These little plastic blocks do work good when you're squaring things up, and they're really cheap. And then let's get a clamp on each end there. And you will see, as I glue this stuff up, you can never have too many clamps. Always one short, it seems like, before you get done. But anyhow, I got the that one shelf glued up, and then it's time to just kind of let the glue set. And you can see I did another one over there on the side too, so I got 2 of them hanging off the bench so I could get clamps around them. And an hour later, take the clamps off, everything set up good, and get ready to just throw a couple of 1/4 crown staples to make sure it never comes apart. So all I did is I grabbed that quarter crown staple gun there, and I think I've got 1-inch staples in it here. And I'm just going to throw a couple of them down there in the groove just to make sure it's it's going to stay. Probably didn't need them, but makes me feel better. And then let's just get the next one in place and start gluing that up. And let's staple another one. So it does take quite a few clamps sometimes when you're making a project. Now for the final assembly, I decided to do it in two breakdowns. One is going to be the top half, because that's all I could hang off the bench to get clamps on. You can see I'm kind of working out air there. So again, I'm using Titebond 3 on everything there, and just fitting it together a little bit at a time. everything is just a perfect fit. That dado had just cut such nice clean dados and, you know, flat bottoms and stuff. So, you know, everything fits perfect. So it took a little longer to assemble than I originally had thought it would, but it's nice and sturdy and square and, you know, everything now. So I'm happy in the end. So that's got, you know, everything's kind of located in there, and all they have to do is go back and get some clamps on it and just make sure everything's perfectly square and ready to go. And again, you can see everything got a lot of clamps on it. And then I'll do the other second half of it, and this takes some longer clamps, but same thing, just glue it, slip the pieces in place, and final precaution, I'm just going to throw some 23 gauge pin nails on an angle in the bottom there, just in case somebody should, you know, hit that or kick it. So next, just putting glue in all the slots there for the other half to fit in. And this is the real test. If this goes in with no problem, it's a home run. So everything turned out. Everything was, I'm really surprised how easy this went together. Everything just kind of dropped right in once I got the first one started. And it is really a nice fit there. You can see everything just fell right in place. So I'm very happy with how it went together. A little bit of misalignment in the top end there, so I'm just going to slip it a hair with a clamp before I put some clamps on it to pull it all together. A little bit of final adjustment. A couple clamps, and stand it up and put all the rest of the clamps on. And again, never have too many clamps, but you know, that's it, all ready to go just about. A little bit of sanding, everything came out nice and flush, so a little bit of sanding when I was done just to clean up some glue squeeze out stuff there, and then came the real pain in the neck part, trying to paint it. I wish it was warm out so I could have just taken it out and sprayed it, but this turned into a 2-day nightmare getting all these edges and angles and stuff covered with 2 coats, half from the front, half from the back. Then you had to flip it, let it dry, do the other half, and then keep going over it and flipping it, and basically, like I said, after 2 days I finally had it done and time to put the back on. Now for the back, I didn't have one piece of 1/4 inch big enough, so I wound up cutting 2 pieces and doing a dovetail overlap in the middle there that would lock them together. So when they went in, they pulled tight and you know, kind of interlock so they wouldn't shift or anything. So let's get some glue on here. And I'm not going to paint the inside of the back. I decided I just can't reach in there and do it, so I'm just going to leave that plain on the inside. The outside I'll paint. But again, I'm going to just use the 1/4 crown staples. This gun's a little bit big and hard to line up when using it in the shop, but it works good, so I just grab it, no air line. Should have probably used the air gun for, you know, a little bit easier to use, but this worked. And just put that on there, and then again glue, a little more glue around everything, and threw the second piece in, and that actually locks right down there, and that over dovetail that between the 2 pieces. And same thing, a couple more staples in, that's done. And you can see that one center piece still is sticking up a little bit to interlock with the top of this unit, which I'll show you in a second. That done, I just went back and put some sheetrock compound in all those little staple heads to fill them and gave it a sanding so it came out nice and flat. And I did glue a couple pieces of 3/4 inch plywood on the bottom for the casters. These casters were leftovers from that tool cart that I bought to use over in the kitchen there for all the cabinet. I took the casters off it, put it up on blocks. So I'm using them here, and I got some, these are number 14 by 1.25 screws I think will hold it. Really kind of monsters for it, but you know, they fit the whole size, so that's what I used. So I put them with the two back wheels facing out like this, so I can easily rock it into place where I want to, and did have to take the wheel apart. Just a cheap plastic wheel with a bushing in the middle and some little chrome hubcaps. But they're supposed to hold like 500-600 pounds of wheels, so should be more than enough for a cart like this. And it's just a matter of tightening them back down. Fixed ones I did, and then the time to throw the ones on the front there. Same thing, I pre-drilled the holes and just used these big screws, and everything worked nice and rolled around nice. And time to mount the bins on the side. Some of these bins I took out of the organizers when I printed the inserts for them, and I designed and printed a little rails there to hang them on. You can see they lock in there, and there's a screw right under where they lock in on each one to make them extremely strong. And I wanted to hang the you know, the ones I removed on the outside here, so I'm going to put 2 of these on each shelf level. I just had to drill and use some flathead screws to mount them. But that was as big as my 3D printer would handle, so that's why I kind of stuck with the 2 sections. And it just took a while to mount them. You can see the bins lock right in them. Really hold strong, and be a good place to throw some extra hardware and stuff. And again, that T-square really does come in handy now that I've, you know, squared it up and got it working right. Really is a nice addition to the shop. So there it is. They're all screwed in place, ready to hang the bins on. One thing I noticed when I hung them on there is that the bins do sag a little bit if you put weight in them, and they don't sit perfectly straight up. So I decided I'll show you in a little while to print a little backup part for it, but there they are. They fit nice, and they good extra space to hang things, and everything's going to fit in there, I found out. So let's move on from here. Okay, the top is just another piece of 3/4 inch multiply plywood. I cut it to size. I sanded some round corners on it, and now I'm just going to go back and put a little 1/8 inch radius top and bottom just to break the sharp edges so they don't chip off later. That's pretty easy on the router. And then I need that groove in the bottom to lock into that upright in the center so it can't move. And all I did was just took a little palm router and a couple pieces of wood there. I set them up so that the width of the plywood was the gap between them, and you know, was able to get a perfect slot cut in no time to lock right on there and hold that in place. So that's ready to go now. And here I did 3D print some spacers for the bottom there so that these things hang straight no matter how much weight you put on them. So I'm going to be adding those on there too. Just 3 little screws in there. Amazing what you can do quickly with this little 3D printer. I love this thing. It's just been running constantly since I got it. No problems either. And then as everything else, orange and gray is the colors of my shop. So I got the bottom of that painted orange, and I'm just going to put some glue on here. The center is the only glue that'll really hold it, but I decided maybe the other glue will hold a little bit on the paint too, so we'll find out. So you can see, just line up that slot, and I just painted the bottom of it. Everything lined up exactly where it goes, locked in place, and I'm putting like 4 16 gauge 2.5 inch finish nails in each side of this to hold it in. I am really surprised how well these finish nails hold, how much strength they have, pull out force in this stuff. So I figured that'll keep it permanently in place. And then all it was a couple coats of orange paint on the top, and that's it, all done. Everything fits on it now. It allowed me to keep all my Milwaukee stuff together. Those battery trays I printed for the M12 batteries, and you see I put some stuff on top, and I'm starting to make some labels for these bins so I know exactly what's in there. And I also found out that these little cloth tool bags fit in there. I am very happy with how it came out and how everything works now, and how easy it is to find stuff and just grab a tool with, you know, all the accessories that go with it to, you know, take it and do a job. Really was a worthwhile project, I think. That was fun, didn't take too long, and, you know, nothing fancy. It was pretty simple to do. And that's, you know, basically what it looks like. Bins can be just picked off and taken with you. Come right off, and you can see just 3D printed parts. I just thought I'd give you ideas of, you know, storing tools and, you know, keeping track of them. And I think this was, you know, a really good solution for the needs that I had. And if you haven't seen the other videos, I'll just give you a peek at some of these boxes, what I 3D printed to go in there. Some of these designs I bought on the internet, and a couple of them I came up with on my own, but you can see each tool has all the accessories that go with it. Keep it together, and there's all little bins you can pick out and, you know, fit all kinds of accessories in them. And it just keeps everything together when you want to go do something. And die grinder with some burrs and some, you know, Scotch-Brite pads and stuff like that. And there's a cut-off saw with the wheels and diamond and, you know, different types of wheels. And the guard fits down under there, so, you know, that's part of them. And let's see, here's one I designed for the DeWalt jigsaw, 18 volt. You see blades going there with Kaizen foam I used on that. And then I just designed up a little pocket there for the I could fit a container with the blades in and carry them with it. And it's a design that I bought here for this multi-cut tool, and you can see everything is really nice and organized. And here's one I designed up some things from my wood taps, and I made some labels for them with all the size drills I need. And, you know, you can see the drill guides and countersinks all fit in the Kaizen foam. Here's my bore scope. I cut Kaizen foam to fit that. And, you know, a couple of them will have just plain hardware in it also. So it's just a fun project that I kind of started when I started learning to use the Libre about a month and a half ago when I bought that. And, you know, it was my first project, just playing, see if I could get drawings and models and everything else. And nothing, everything basically just simple square cuts on it and stuff. So it was really easy to make. And everything went together perfect. I was really surprised. I like that new plywood. I'm going to have to go pick up some more, but you can see it turned out being a really good way to store the tools and keep track of them and all the accessories with them and keep everything together. And I am so glad that I quit buying the DeWalt tools when I did and started switching over to the Milwaukee, because these are just so much better. They're ergonomic, they're comfortable, they don't vibrate, just perfectly made, and they all work good. So I'm real happy with all the red and black in my shop now. And again, you can see it just, you know, it turned out a fun project. And it turned out good, and it was a great way to go right from learning to design stuff and learning a lot about 3D printing on the way, and you know, to the final project. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.